I ultimately exposed my aunt's entire fraudulent life and triggered my uncle's divorce. And it all started with her refusal to pay me for my art. For those just joining the story, I'll get you up to speed. At the start of the year, my aunt by marriage, let's call her Carol, asked me to create some original artwork for her new real estate business. We had a clear verbal agreement that she would pay me for my work. But from the very beginning, the entire process was a nightmare. She was demanding, insulting, and just a horrible client. And I was quickly sinking my own time and money into material costs. The breaking point came when she wanted me to fly out to her city, on my own dime, to paint a mural I had designed for her office. That's when I put my foot down. I asked for payment for all the work I had already completed and shipped to her. She completely freaked out and screamed at me over the phone. That Tuesday, I went to my school's legal aid office. They were incredibly helpful, assisting me in drafting a formal cease and desist letter for the use of my work, along with a detailed invoice for my time and materials. As expected, this did not go over well. Aunt Carol immediately called my mom, ranting about what an ungrateful brat I was. My mom, however, is the complete opposite of me. She's an extreme extrovert and doesn't back down from anyone. In a brilliant move, she decided to call Aunt Carol's supposed real estate company directly to inform them that one of their agents was refusing to pay for rendered services. And that's when the first domino fell. The person on the other end of the line was confused. The company had absolutely no idea who Aunt Carol was. This bizarre revelation prompted my Uncle Ben to start looking into things. What he found was devastating. My aunt had secretly taken out several credit cards in his name only and completely maxed them out. That's likely where the money came from for her new Escalade, her real estate agent wardrobe, and her fancy office space. In the days that followed, even more of my aunt's deception came to light. It turns out, she wasn't in the kind of deep trouble with the national company, let's call them ProRealty, that we first assumed. But she was still monumentally screwed. We learned that she had probably never told anyone except my uncle that she was working for ProRealty. It appears she never had a single client or brokered a single deal. The whole soon-to-be ProRealty franchisee story was just an elaborate lie to explain to my uncle where this sudden flood of money was coming from. She had told him ProRealty financed her new Escalade and helped her rent the office. This revealed Aunt Carol's greatest fatal flaw, her blinding arrogance. She believed she could build a fantasy life on a foundation of lies and debt, assuming everyone around her, especially her trusting husband, was too foolish to ever look behind the curtain. Since she never actually used the ProRealty name to defraud clients, the company itself likely has no legal case against her. But my mom, who had now become fast friends with the most senior ProRealty agent in my hometown, made sure there would be consequences. He was going to report my aunt to the State Board of Real Estate to have her brand new license reviewed and probably suspended. Even if that doesn't happen, she is now blackballed from ever working with ProRealty. According to this agent, something like 45% of all home sales in my town involve a ProRealty agent on one side or the other. So, Aunt Carol has effectively crippled her own career before it even began. One of the most surreal parts of this whole thing was a puzzle piece provided by two actual ProRealty agents who saw my original story online. The real-life company uses a very specific image on its logo to keep it anonymous. Let's say it's a boat. I suddenly remembered how, when Carol first hired me, she was bizarrely adamant that I avoid using any boats in my designs. Her exact instruction was a forcefully delivered, no boats. At the time, I just thought it was a strange artistic preference. In her attempt to walk a fine line of fraud, she made a critical error, leaving a clue that would later expose her entire scheme. My family and I now realize that, while she was deep in her fraudulent behavior, she knew she couldn't risk getting on the Real Pro Realty's radar. The last thing she needed was to be seen driving an $80,000 Escalade around town with anything resembling their famous boat logo plastered on the side. It just proves she knew exactly what she was doing was wrong. And I truly hope it can be used against her in the divorce. As for my uncle, he contacted a lawyer and they began working to file an emergency separation motion with the courts to prevent her from doing any more financial damage. I learned that my uncle did something I never would have expected. He specifically asked his lawyer to include the oil painting and logos I'd already shipped to her in the paperwork, demanding she declare them as assets. So while I may never get paid, there's a chance I might actually get my artwork back. The lawyer is also figuring out the best way to handle the identity theft. The whole situation is just twisted. My uncle paid for everything during their 5-year marriage. And even though Aunt Carol committed identity theft against him, he was the one who had to leave their house. He's staying with my parents for now. A lot of people watching my story unfold asked why my uncle, the victim, was the one who had to leave. I later found out that his lawyer advised him to leave if he felt he was in any danger, or if there was even a slight chance that Carol would falsely accuse him of harming her. It was best for him to get out and let the lawyer sort out possession of the house later. It's hard for me to reconcile that idea with the memory of my uncle, a huge 6 feet 3 inches man who used to effortlessly throw me around in our pool. My dad says my uncle is completely broken over this. He never saw it coming and actually believed the absurd story about a company financing a luxury car for someone who didn't even work for them. This makes me feel terrible, because I'm the one who brought all of this to light. But my dad reassures me that my uncle is appreciative. If I hadn't pushed back, Carol could have dragged him into much deeper trouble and had more time to try and cover her fraud with even more fraud. We still don't have a timeline for the divorce. It all depends on whether my aunt finds a lawyer willing to put up a fight, or if she just disappears. I guess we'll see. In the end, trying to build a life on lies and taking advantage of your own family is a house of cards that will always come crashing down. Sometimes, simply standing up for what you're owed can be the gust of wind that topples it all. Have you ever had a gut feeling that something was off about a family member's success story? And what did you do about it?